been extremely educational this evening. A lot of the things that I have saw Leon starting years ago had come to fruition. I graduated in 1995, and I left when a lot of this really started to happen. But a lot of the groundwork was laid while I was there with these crazy ideas that Leon had about things that were going to happen with technology and the future. Like I said, I am from the class of 1995. I was not a traditional student. I came here after 6 years in the United States Navy, and I came to the University of North Dakota. I don't know if I've ever admitted this to Leon before, but I came to the University of North Dakota because San Jose State University turned me down. I always wanted to be a meteorologist since I was about 15 years old. I wanted to be a TV meteorologist. When I was a kid, I was terrified of storms. Storms were horrible. I hated them. I would wait, even until I was 12, 13, 14 years old, I would wait underneath my basement steps with my dog, waiting for the big storm to come and take me and my family away. And fortunately, my father, who was definitely tired of me cowering underneath the steps all year long, probably because my mother was more tired of it, told me one of the most important things in my life. He told me, if you are afraid of something, go learn about it. So I started to learn about it a little bit. I watched the guys in Minneapolis on WCCO and KSTP, Dr. Walt Lyons and Dr. Dennis Felkin, respectively, and I noticed that when the weather was going to get bad, Dennis Felkin would roll up his sleeves and loosen up his tie. I thought that was cool. Dr. Walt Lyons would start off the newscast. He'd be sitting in the weather center, and they'd go right to him, and the anchors had that sense of urgency. We go right now to Dr. Walt Lyons. I'm like, man, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help people who were like me. I'm going to help people who were storm terrified. I was going to let them know when it was time, when it was going to be okay. I was going to let them know when they should be concerned, and I was going to let them know when it was time to take action. So I showed up at UND in January of 1992, and I have a few notes. I don't normally work off a script, but they wanted me to remember things from like 22 years ago. You got to write that stuff down or you're going to mess it up. So the groundwork has been laid. Meteorology is a rigorous curriculum. For those of you who have not studied meteorology, it's a son of a gun. I'd use another word, but there's children in here. And to tell you the truth, I wasn't sure I was going to make it through because I had to go back to school to get my math skills backed up to snuff. I had to go to 3 years of math just to start math at UND, okay? So day one of calculus, Somehow I managed to get here 3 days before the semester started. I was 25. I was living in a dorm with 30 some odd 18-year-olds. Dude, it was terrible. And I was more scared. I called my dad that day, and I was more scared and upset that day when I spoke to my father than I was my first day of boot camp. And I remember distinctly in 1984, when I was 18, I was away from home and I was scared. In 1992, when I called my dad, I was afraid I wasn't smart enough and I didn't belong. Fast forward a couple of days, finally. We had experienced a few days of classes, and a notice went out for the meteorology majors. We were to meet at this place called the Regional Weather Information Center. It was something new that Leon had just come up with. It was his vision, and Arwick was the beginning of my professional career. It was a place where kids who were meteorology majors could get real-world experience in a working weather office. I had worked for 6 years in an operational weather office in the U.S. Navy. This place was the real deal. Leon gathered us by students of our year, freshmen, which I was, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. He explained to each class what our duties at Arwick would be. Freshmen, try not to hurt yourselves and study your calculus. Sophomores, gather the weather data. Juniors, collect that weather data from the sophomores and discuss it with the seniors, and then juniors go back and brief, seniors critique, and everybody learns as we go along. I was an old second semester freshman. I had already gathered weather data and passed on the data to others. I wanted to understand the data, and I wanted to grow. I approached Leon about this bump in my road. I had never spoken to him until this very point. I explained my situation and my experience. And he said, the second most important thing in my life. Okay, you're going to be a junior. Do well. Suddenly, because of Leon, I felt like I belonged at UND, Arwick, and as a budding meteorologist. Leon made it an incredibly safe learning environment to be in. And then believe me, in academia, that is not the norm. On to the next year. Leon knew I wanted to be a TV broadcast meteorologist. That's kind of redundant. I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be a broadcast meteorologist. He was starting a broadcast meteorology program. He was already doing some print weather and weekly appearances on a local PBS show. Forgive me, it had been a few years, but Prairie News Journal just came back. Thank you guys very much. He did about a 3-minute weather hit about the upcoming week. Trends, precip, temps, the whole gamut. His tagline will never be forgotten. From the Regional Weather Information Center, I'm Leon Osborne. It's pretty good. I stood in front of a mirror for 2 hours to get that right. Leon finagled, and I think that's a good word for a lot of your stuff. Leon finagled the first great deal, a deal to get the biggest, baddest, slickest weather graphics system on the face of the earth. Leon got us Earthwatch. Earthwatch. Now, I know a lot of you have no idea what Earthwatch is, but you got to believe me, this was huge. This was the state-of-the-art television graphics weather system available, and he got it for us. It came from Paul Douglas at KARE 11 in Minneapolis, and somehow we had our own. KARE 11 is the number 11 TV market in the country and the number 1 station in Minneapolis, and they were using the same broadcast meteorology system that we were. This made the broadcast program seem real, pertinent, relevant, and hopeful. Hopeful. With Leon's efforts, leadership, and guidance, we began to believe that we could leave college with a job on television. So with our slick system, we began doing daily weather presentations better. Graphics-wise anyway, we still weren't really very good in front of the camera. Than almost any other station in the country. We worked, we practiced, we tried. The whole time, Leon kept us on task. That wasn't the easiest thing to do. We were college students with hideous schedules. He helped us shape our craft. He made sure we knew what we needed to present and what was important to the pilots and to the farmers. They're our only clients. He soon came to us with the next level. He got us a nightly gig on the PBS show Prairie Weather Update. I have to be honest, I never learned the premise of the entire show. All I know was suddenly we were responsible for presenting a 90-second daily update for the local PBS station from Fargo. We had segment time limits, we had deadlines, we had to edit in and open and close. He got some microwave thingy that got signals back and forth. If I'm getting too technical, please let me know. The microwave thingy was going back and forth. We had to ship it down to him, and it all had to happen by a precise time. All of a sudden, we had our very own real broadcast schedule. It was scary, but it was good. It was much, much more experience than you could ever hope for in college. Leon Osborne made it all happen because he believed in a bunch of hungry kids. When I was getting ready to leave UND, I applied for 10 stations. I got callbacks from 5. I got offers from 2. I accepted the morning meteorologist position at WAND-TV in Decatur, Illinois, the city I still live in to this day. One day at my job, I asked my news director, how did I get this job? He looked at me and he pushed back his chair and he said, I received 77 tapes for this opening. He said, yours was the only one that went on for 9 minutes. And you never screwed up. And he said, also because you accepted the $21,000 we were willing to pay you. I like to think it was the 9 uninterrupted minutes of weathered bliss versus the 21,000, but let's be real. The station mailed me the contract. I told Leon I wanted to sign it with him there to witness me becoming a TV meteorologist. As I walked into Arwick, where I now had a cubicle of my very own, next to my dear friend Jason Poole, I saw Leon was on the phone. I imagined he was scoring the next big thing, hammering down some new graphic system for the next class, getting new highways for somebody. Who knew all the stuff you were doing going on? It had to be extremely important because Leon was on the phone at 7:30 at night. He was writing furiously. I waited a bit, and then I walked into his office and sat down. He looked up and smiled apologetically. It would be a minute more. In curiosity, and I'm nosy, I glanced at his list. Milk, eggs, something with beef in it. He was on the phone with Kathy, taking the list that good husbands do. I was impressed. I signed the contract while Leon watched. I was a TV meteorologist. He had created this juggernaut of a TV meteorology possibilities, and he invited me along for the ride. I'll be forever grateful for the opportunity and the challenges that Leon brought forth and the support and encouragement he provided. I wanted to finish growing up, graduate, and move away. Check. I wanted to understand the atmosphere. Leon helped. Check. I wanted to become a meteorologist. Check. I wanted to become a TV meteorologist because of Leon. Check. I wanted to belong because of Leon. Check. In closing, I need to say this. I truly admire musicians who can look at a score and hear the music in their heads. I truly admire accountants who can look at a spreadsheet and instantly find the issues with the numbers. I truly admire sculptors who can look at a chunk of marble and see the statue inside. But to this day, I most admire a man, a true visionary, who stood next to me on a nondescript day in 1992 and helped me not only see my future, but he helped see countless futures after mine, and then helped and worked hard to make it happen. A mere thank you doesn't seem to be enough for me, but I don't think Leon ever wanted anything more, if even that. To the Osborne family, thank you for the July 4th barbecue in 1994. I will keep one foot on the floor at all times. We'll explain that inside joke later. It's fantastic. To Kathy, thank you. You cannot be an amazing man without an amazing woman making you an amazing man. To UND, this great institution that hires really, really smart people and helps and tells those smart people to help the next smart generation thrive and carry on. Mostly to Professor Leon Osborne, a great man, a great mentor, and a man I consider my friend. From all of us that you helped, goaded, pleaded with, prayed for, gave blood, sweat, and tears to, so we could achieve our dreams. Thank you so very, very much.